This is the president now reacting on social media to the Chinese move earlier to restrict rare earth materials coming out of that country to nations around the world. The president posting a lengthy post on social media here, but in it, he's threatening unspecified retaliation against the Chinese side. He also seems here to cancel his scheduled meeting that's coming up with President Xi Jinping of China. The president here saying this was a real surprise, not only to me, but to all the leaders of the free world. I was to meet President Xi in 2 weeks at APEC in South Korea, but now there seems no reason to do so. The president going on to say that the Chinese letters about rare earths were especially inappropriate, and that this was the day that, after 3,000 years of bedlam and fighting, there is peace in the Middle East. I wonder if the timing was coincidental. So the president here objecting not only to the Chinese move on rare earths, but to the fact that it appears to have stepped on the news of his apparent peace agreement with Israel and Hamas yesterday. The president also suggesting that there are a number of unspecified retaliatory measures that the United States can take here in response to China. It says for everything they have a monopoly on, the United States has two, and they're looking at ways to respond. He says, ultimately, though potentially painful, it will be a very good thing in the end for USA. One of the policies that we are calculating at this moment is a massive increase of tariffs on Chinese products coming into the United States of America. There are many other countermeasures that are likewise under serious consideration. So the president here seeming to cancel his meeting with Xi Jinping of China, also threatening a massive increase in tariffs and unspecified additional countermeasures. All of this on social media now, Carl, as we say, in response to that move by the Chinese.
Now, Trump said on Truth Social that that would be going into effect starting November 1st, or, and this is his post, or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes taken by China. He then also adds that on November 1st, the U.S. will impose export controls on any and all critical software. Of course, this is coming after that back and forth that we saw today with rare earths. China, of course, announcing the stricter export controls, and Trump responding to that, saying that he basically saying that they could have tariffs. And now, of course, we're hearing more clarity from it. Trump also said in his Truth Social post, accusing China of taking an extraordinarily aggressive position on trade, and says this, they sent an extremely hostile letter to the world that tariffs and export controls were going to go into effect on November 1st. This seems to be a way for the U.S. to counteract what China's moves would be. And of course, questions here about whether Trump and Chinese leader Xi would be meeting. They're expected to meet 2 weeks from now in South Korea. Trump, of course, earlier calling into question whether it was even worth having that meeting. Doesn't seem to address that in his latest post. But of course, this mention of tariffs and of the export controls really ratcheting up the pressure here and the degree of impact and conflict this could have.
Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakar Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders at Great Millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right. Trump threatens 100% tariff on Chinese goods over rare earth restrictions. All right. Which these are minerals that U.S. needs. Okay. And just like every other war or conflict that Esau has with the other nations, you know, it's over something that the other nation, he's covetous, right? It's over something that they have that he feels like, you know, he's more deserving of, you know, and will use, you know, his war tactics to get it. Right. The problem is these militaries have become more advanced as far as their artillery. So the United States is not the same threat as far as war to certain nations on the planet, Russia being another one, you know. We'll get into the article. President Trump threatened to impose 100% tariffs on Chinese goods next month if China follows through on plans to tighten export controls on minerals critical to American industry. All right. But see, this is why the joy of the hypocrite only lasts for a moment, right? This is the same nation that slaps sanctions on everybody. So you'll get involved in what another nation can receive into their country. But now, since you can't receive something that you see as critical to your industry, now you mad. You know, these dudes is just crazy, man. It says it is the latest escalation of trade tensions between the world's two largest economies, just hours after Trump said he might cancel a planned meeting with President Xi Jinping. The U.S.-China trade relationship was already wobbly. The latest threats between the two nations threaten to reignite a tit-for-tat trade war that could rattle America's economy, which it will. Because this dude, hey, like the scriptures say, look more stout than his fellows. You know, he's all pride, man. He's bullheaded. All right? Bullheaded mean stupidly stubborn. Trump don't care about, you know, how this is going to affect the everyday American. He just want to win and dominate, man. You know? It says, starting November 1st, 2025, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff they are currently paying. Trump posted on Truth Social on Friday. Trump added that the U.S. would also impose export controls on any and all critical software. Trump hinted at the potential of a new trade-related actions earlier on Friday, warning of a massive increase on tariffs on Chinese products coming into the United States of America. And China makes a large variation of the products in America. You know, it's not like, what you want to say, like the 50s, 40s, 50s, when you had Ford and General Motors and, you know, all these factories, you know, in America was actually producing things. You know, most of the things that we use come from foreign countries. You know? But it says China announced export controls on a range of minerals the U.S. desperately needs to power the AI boom and other key sectors like defense measures that could begin to take effect November 1st. So this is the product that they want. Whatever these rare earth minerals are, that they say are critical to American industry. All right. Trump called the planned restrictions a rather sinister and hostile move that sought to hold the world captive. So he's said that they holding the world captive, you know, with these minerals, man. You know. But Trump just can't run up on China like in the Middle East, what they call the Middle East, when, you know, they obviously went over there to take control of that oil. You know, that was a little bit more easier than fighting against a country that has nuclear capability as well, or has a artillery just as vast or powerful as yours. All right. This was a real surprise, not only to me, but to all the leaders of the free world. I met with President Xi in 2 weeks. I was to meet President Xi in 2 weeks at APEC in South Korea, but now there seems to be no reason to do so. He said, says the threat level, the stock market took a hit earlier after Trump threatened to hit back at China. S&P 500 closed down 2.7%, the biggest drop since April. A month that saw the White House announce a raft of new import taxes on global trading partners. This dude is on a warpath, man. He's on a warpath, man. And this is the spirit that Yahweh Bashim Yahushua is putting on him. Just to, you know, run around and start wars and kick up dust with everybody. You know, it says what to watch. China's new export controls were widely seen as a play to gain leverage in trade talks, but the economic damage to the U.S. would be extensive if Beijing followed through, because the U.S. does not currently have the capacity to replace Chinese rare earth minerals. So this is really about China having them by the balls with these rare earth minerals, because America doesn't, have the ability to replace it. And these are just more and more steps to the third woe. All right, third world war that is inevitable, because all these nations is doing is beefing with each other and talking shit, putting tariffs on each other, putting sanctions on each other, talking negatively about each other in articles, at press conferences and hearings. This is going to turn into the third world war. All right, and as we know, the MOTB has to be made mandatory first, but which that's coming to pass sooner than later. And the tension amongst the nations just keep growing and growing. So we almost out of here. But I ain't gonna hold you. Hope that video was edifying. Shalom.